Headphones on, let's do this.
Hey, do you know of a podcast I can listen to that has nerd and comic books and stuff? I really can't find one.
I say, you ever heard of the Nerd Dumb Podcast? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Dome Podcast, episode 261. I am your podcaster without fear, Luke, and today I am joined with these wonderful gentlemen.
I am the alliterative Andrew.
And classic Chris Hoffman, co-founders of Validity Studios.
And we are joined today in the studio by Natalie. But they don't want to be on camera, so.
No phaser hostage this time.
I don't know about all that, but
oh man, yeah. Sorry we took last week off. You know, adult things happened. Andrew was melting. But
saying it that way sounds so much worse. Phrase
yes.
Dude.
What happened to me, Luke?
you were melting like Clayface in the Batman movie. I don't know. Batman movie. Batman
I can only hope. Oh.
You know, it's kind of funny. I just said that and it just clicked in my head. I saw the preview for the new Batman series on Prime, and it's set in like that older like Bruce Timm vibe,
like the 30s, 40s.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember. I thought they had Clayface in the trailer, and I was like, I wonder if it's gonna be the Clayface personality from the Harley Quinn show. Because that would be hilarious.
That would be great. Alan Tudyk does a terrific job as Clayface, as an actor's actor. Yeah.
Alan Tudyk is great. Like, period. My favorite story when I talked to him, he said that he was at a convention and he was speaking with someone that was in the Marines that was in Iraq during the invasion. And he said, you know, he was one of the first people into Saddam's palace. And he's like, and I found this. And he gave him a Arab language version of Firefly. And he was like, I didn't know how to react to that. Like,
how do
Saddam
you react to that? Yeah. Thank
you
you for pilfering this from a foreign country for me. Yeah.
Right. There's a flash and a uncanny riot has appeared.
Hello.
He's here. But yeah, no, it was interesting that he was like, I didn't know how to take that. Like, Saddam was a fan, I guess. He's like, so I signed it and was like, you shouldn't have this, huh? But I signed it and put my name on it anyway. So, but yeah. I asked this question before we started, and I wanna revisit it again. My daughter came up to me with a screen grab from the anime Akira, and she's like, "Dad, can we watch this?"
Which screen grab? Is it the teddy bears?
No, it was just one of the ones with the motorcycles going down through the city. There wasn't anything. It just looked really cool, and she was like, hey, you know, can we watch this? And I am like, that's a little too young for me. Like, maybe next couple years we can watch it. But it got me thinking: are there any animes out there that you think that are like pivotal, but maybe like either the story or the subject matter isn't great, but you still feel like you need to watch them to understand like the influence they had on the genre?
I have a couple, but I feel like that. So to kind of define your point there, right? Like, Akira is one of those things that's beautiful to watch. It's a dazzling for the senses, but it makes almost absolutely no sense. It's certainly a run to Reddit afterwards and be like, what did I just watch? And can you explain some of this to me? And I felt like Ghost in the Shell is the same way. I've watched, and I actually like watching that movie, but there's a set of movies like this where it's like it's important to watch them so that you understand the genre, and it's things like Citizen Kane and Blade Runner and stuff like that, and it's stuff that I feel like you have to sit like you're going to an opera. You put on a Elizabethan collar, right, and you get a cane, and you sit there and you tap, approvingly at the cool parts. But you clear your schedule and you understand that you're not going to do anything else. You know what I mean? And you're also probably not going to be very entertained.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of points in it where you're like, what is the hell is going on?
Listen, we wouldn't dress up. This is America. We wear tuxedo T-shirts.
Yeah, a tuxedo T-shirt, something like that. But yeah, and golf clap for the parts and such. But yeah, it was one of those things that's just beautiful to watch. But then afterwards, like your kid wanting to watch Akira, it'd be like, yeah, let's watch it, and then it'd be like, what was happening? There were these little blue people, and then there was yelling a lot, and some motorcycles.
Why did that guy not have any eyebrows? Because that's what she would worry about. Because she's obsessed with hair colors and like facial hair placement. She'd be like, that guy doesn't have any eyebrows, Dad. Why? I'm like, I don't know. That's how it is.
Show her Terminator. Yeah.
Right. So you said you just said you had Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, Ghost in the Shell, and I'll get some hate from this from some people, but I'll put Cowboy Bebop in the same category, where I cannot, it's very pretty to watch. I went and saw the movie release in the theaters when it came out back in the 90s, right? When you had to go to like the art theater here to go and see it because it was like anime. You didn't go see anime, and it's the same thing. It's like, this is beautiful, but I don't care about it at all.
Yeah. I love Cowboy Bebop. I do. There's
an aesthetic, and I can understand the appreciation, but
and I understand the criticisms, but I'm just like, I still love it. I still watch it, and like when I need just something to put on, like if I'm doing something else, but I need some kind of like background noise. It's either like Star Trek: The Next Generation or 80s anime, like that. Those are my two. But
really good music in Cowboy Bebop.
Yes. Andrew, Ryan, do you have any that you can think of that are like that?
Yes, I like to think of Star Trek: The Next Generation as the soundtrack to my life. I put it on when I'm doing something else that I don't have to pay too close attention, and it plays out in my mind's eye. Oh, we're talking about anime.
Yeah.
Yes, I also like
anime. I was also going to say Next Generation is my favorite anime.
Yeah, so we're just talking about Star Trek now? So, Ryan, I was watching the episode Hollow Pursuits the other day.
No. What one that I think it's pivotal, but it's also one that's it's very heavy subject matter that maybe you watch once and you're like, okay, which was the Grave of the Fireflies, which is a very, it's post-war Japan, World War II. It's very rough to watch. I watched it and I was like, I've checked that off my list. I don't think I have it in me to watch this again. But it is very, very good.
I do have one, A Silent Voice.
I don't think I've heard about that one.
Go in knowing that there is a lot of self-harm. There's a lot of horrific bullying of a deaf girl. It is a rough watch, and it was like 6 months into the pandemic, and my daughter's like, I heard this anime's on HBO or whatever. We should totally watch it. Okay, and that's as much as I knew going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And an hour and 40 minutes later, we're all sobbing. Oh, God. Yeah, it was a rough watch. I'm glad I did. I don't ever need to watch it again.
Right. And then
one of the highest rated movies like out there right now. It's like 4.9 on Crunchyroll, 8 on AMDb.
I think they just made a live action adaptation of it. Yeah.
It's a really good show.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
I'm
you said,
glad I watched it. It's a tough watch.
2 boxes of Kleenex with it.
Yeah, and then that kind of led to the just movies in general that are those ones that like you watch and you're like, okay. For me, it was when I went and saw Logan. I watched Logan one time and I was like, I'm good. I saw it. It was very good. I don't like the way it made me feel when I left the movie theater. I don't want to watch it again, but I'm glad I did watch it, so I know about it. But
That's the same
and then
way I
Andrew.
felt with Joker. Like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched that one. I
Yeah.
agree with that. Yeah, I get that. There are classic movies that you got to watch once for the study of it. I know when I was taking film class, it was Birth of a Nation. It's an important historical film, even though the subject matter is trash. So,
Well, so you know what? We're just gonna talk about it. Star Wars: The Acolyte. So I was thinking of a segue, but I couldn't come up with one that was neutral positive. So how have you guys liked the because we talked about the first two episodes, but we haven't really talked about these later episodes. So I want
Yeah,
to
we
get
did.
your guys' update and feeling on it.
just because you weren't here doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, you didn't talk about 5 because you didn't watch it yet.
I'm all caught up.
And
Wait,
how do you feel?
Oh,
what is today? Today is
how-
the new one.
No.
I enjoyed it. I am certainly not saying this under duress. To our YouTube's viewers, there is a gag. To our listeners, best of luck. Yes. Well, I had a feeling that the Wookiee Jedi would not pay off, and I was not disappointed, yet equally disappointed because I was kind of hoping to see it after you were building it up so much, Luke.
It would be awesome.
Also, it doesn't feel like they're going for a season 2 after the massacre. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like we got to know these characters that well, but fuck them, I guess. We just don't get to see them anymore. They're just gone, just like that, unceremoniously. Killed by that nerdy guy from the Good Place, the DJ or whatever.
I was like, Ezra Miller's stunt double. What is happening?
I was very pleased that I got who Darth Teeth was.
Yes.
Correct. I also like that the internet has started calling him Darth Teeth because I thought that was appropriate.
Go ahead.
As soon as Darth Teeth revealed himself, I was like, oh, well, all of these people have to die now because the Jedi obviously don't know that this person exists in the timeline.
Prequelitis.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
They'll
I
stuff a
liked
new
the-
form of green metachlorians in. And then
I liked the the actual lightsaber fighting. Like the choreography was pretty good.
Mhm.
And again, I really like Master Son. I'm just like, I wish this was more about. Again, I think I talked to Ryan about this. I want to know what's going on. Like, this is a very contained story. It's a very contained story with these group, kind of like really quiet, Jedi mission, right? I kind of want to know what's happening, like galactic wise, right? Like, I want to see like stuff that has implications, like big implications, like in Ahsoka, right? Them finding Thrawn is a big thing for the rest of the galaxy.
So, if I'm understanding your critique, is that you would prefer they move the story forward rather than backward?
Right. Or on a treadmill where it's not
Yeah.
really going
Yeah, so it's just Luke over and
Um,
over again.
A treadmill of time.
Yeah. And those were the positive views of the Acolyte. Chris,
Hmm.
What do you got?
I'm always wearing a Star Wars shirt as
Every
much as
time.
You so the yeah, this is how I always start this out. Be gentle about this, you know what I mean?
And then proceeds to not be gentle.
It's kind of the deal. I like Red Letter Media kind of said everything that needed to be said about the Acolyte with it, with their like hour and a half long thing that they put out a couple weeks ago, where they're like this show is just exceedingly meh, and if it was, and it's not bad, you know what I mean, if it was just terrible, then it would be easy to just be like, this is terrible, you know what I mean, but it's also not good, and
It's
so
got a
it's
good cast. It's
there's
Yeah.
good stuff in it, you know what I mean. It's like if you have a meal with something in it where you're like, oh, there's, you know, I like raisins and there's raisins in this, that's cool, you know what I mean, I can just eat around everything else that's in here, you know. But it Star Wars, and they posed the question there, what is Star Wars anymore, you know what I mean? Like Star Wars used to be it was like you were talking about, it was an epic battle between good and evil. There was a clear good guy and a clear bad guy, and it was just sort of escapist fantasy. It's almost steampunk fantasy, right? Because it's like it's fantasy, but they have like techno gadgetry, right? And then you end up, people try to come up with new stuff, right? Where they're like, oh, let's try something a little bit different with this formula, so it's not so it's not the old formula, but the old formula is what worked, right? And so these are the things that I hate going into Star Wars stuff and trying to pick out things that I like. Every time I watch a new Star Wars thing, I'm like, do I like this? You know? And it's like, I don't do that with any other media. I don't do that with any other TV show that I watch. I'll just watch a show, but Star Wars, I will sit there and be like, why are they doing it like this? And so the particulars of the show, it's like, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Any of this stuff would be cool if it was packaged together in a way that sort of made sense. And yeah, I mean, if you like the stuff in it that is the things about like Jedi and cosplaying and having something new, having an idea of like, oh, there's other religions other than the Jedi one, great, you know. But the thing is, they're trying to push stuff into a place, but also not going far enough. If they're going to do something, do it, you know what I mean? If you're going to be like, if you're just going to implicate and be like, the Jedi are bad guys, you didn't know this, but they don't want to they don't want to hurt sales at Disney. You know what I mean? So they're not going to change anything drastically where you're going to be like, everything you knew about the Jedi is wrong. They're actually bad guys, you know, which would be a super interesting story. They'll edge up to that, but they won't jump off the cliff because you got to buy tickets. The whole reason they spent $4 billion on this is so that you'll go to the parks. And that's where my critique of the new Star Wars stuff will really kick in, is that we can sit here and talking about like the shows and the particulars and stuff like that. But I can tell when something Star Wars is good or not by if they sell any merchandise for it. Is anyone running to their comic book store dying for these characters in action figure form?
Right.
A few, you know what I mean? And you'll get your Carrie-Anne Moss action figure as like a commemorative thing. Like, hey, this person from the Matrix, the crossover from a different sci-fi thing. How cool is that? You know?
Yeah,
But
it's definitely not like The Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, people were dying for it. Star Wars, Disney and Hasbro, Hasbro had like so little confidence in Star Wars stuff anymore. They didn't make anything because they made action figures for Han Solo and nobody bought them, and they made them for Rogue One and nobody bought them. How many Gen Ursos still sat on shelves for years after those shows? Right?
I had a hard time trying to find a K2. Because K2 was the one to get, but I eventually found it.
Yes. So and we all agree that Wicked, best thing that came out of that show was that particular character.
I really
haven't
like
watched Andor yet. I understand that it's good, and so it's
been described as the Star Trek of Star Wars because it's got a politically conscious message. It's thoughtful and respects the source material, and it conducts itself with a dignity and seriousness that might not be very Star Warsy, because having comedic characters like R2 and 3PO is a staple in that genre, but there really isn't a silly character in Andor.
Except
So
for
they
Cassian
may have
himself.
missed the mark for Star Wars. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
but
Like,
what they ended up making is some quality television, which I
Sure.
will applaud them for.
right. Well, you shouldn't call it the Star Trek of anything if it's like quality of something, because Star Trek is
Oh,
all over the map.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? But I actually think that there's a lot of stuff in Star Wars that has too many Star Trek people in it. Is the thing that it started with the role playing game. With the old West End role playing game in D6, where you would get a set of people who loved Star Wars, but they were also like very Star Trek people. And so then they were like, well, how do the lightsabers work? And it's like, it doesn't matter. No, I need to know how it works. How do the speeder bikes work? It doesn't matter. None of it matters, you know? And then that starts to become too much of the argument. Like, how does hyperspace work? It doesn't matter. They didn't need fuel. And that's why it was such a weird thing in all of a sudden in the Disney trilogy when fuel was a problem. They've never worried about fuel before. It's just because it doesn't matter. And I think that there's a lot of that sort of stuff. You'll get to and Star Wars is so all over the place now that who knows if it's ever going to come back to, and does it need to, you know what I mean? Does it, what is it anymore? Was the most poignant question in there. And, yeah, my big thing is I watch all the Acolyte stuff from downloaded sources, so they don't know that I've watched it. I'm not gonna support this thing because they don't care if I watched it and hated it and watched it and loved it. It's a watch, right? It's the same thing, and so there's zero chance that I'm going to give them that satisfaction.
So what we get from this is next week, Andrew, Ryan, we all show up in Starfleet uniforms for the entire episode and just talk about Star Trek.
There's no way I'd be able to get my favorite Star Trek uniform in time.
All right, we'll just put it on the schedule for when Strange New Worlds comes out.
Right.
It'll be perfect. So another one I wanted to talk about was House of the Dragon. Some some Game of Thronesy stuff. Season 2.
Incest,
Ryan,
the TV show. I haven't watched this yet.
that's right. That's the one that you said that you.
Oh yeah, my mom likes to watch it, and
Right.
and it's somewhat awkward watching with my mom at points.
Yeah, I watched Clerks with my mom. That was insane.
And now you have
Andrew,
an inside joke.
why are they talking about what's snowballing? Oh my god!
37.
Yeah.
It's been my I've watched House of the Dragon, but like in the first season, my issue was there wasn't a character that I am like rooting for. There's not a character that I'm like, yeah, that guy, whether it be because he's funny or because he's got a good arc or
a funny
anything
hat
like
that you
that.
like.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even have that. They all just have wigs. But I think that's been my biggest issue with it. I think it's fine. I think it's good. I still watch it every week, but I always say in Game of Thrones, my least favorite part of Game of Thrones was the Game of Thrones. I liked the Bronn when he's like out doing stuff, or the wildlings up north, like the stuff that wasn't directly involved with who is going to be the next king. I would just tune it out. So I love like the outside stuff on Game of Thrones. And listen, like I said, all of my favorite characters, with the exception of one, survived that entire show because they had nothing to do with the Game of Thrones. They were just trying to live.
Like the reason that I didn't want to watch it in the first place, because I thought it was just like a medieval political drama. Like it was just like I envisioned it to be like all the the parts of episode 1 where they're just in the Senate. I thought it was just that and a TV show, but with just medieval attire.
I loved all the politics stuff.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part of Dune. Once they get to the desert, I lose complete interest when it starts into the culty stuff. Nope. No, I want to hear about Canley. You know,
Luke make you sit down and watch the first episode, and I was like, "There's dragons in this."
That you brought up Dune. This weekend I was in the desert and I have a Nissan truck and it was stuck and I got it out and I looked at everybody else in the truck and I said Nissan Al-Gaib and nobody got it.
Oh, you should have
They just
texted
looked
us.
at me. I was like,
We
it was
console you.
good. it was good. But no, I've liked House of the Dragon. It's just not. It's not like those first seasons of Game of Thrones where it was like, oh, I can't wait to watch it next week. Like I didn't watch Sundays yet because I'm just like, oh, I'll get to it. But yeah. And I didn't know what your guys' thoughts on it.
Game of Thrones.
Watched it or...
The big problem with two big problems with Game of Thrones is that every time that any of the characters met new people, they're all sociopaths. How this society held itself up every single time that either the person, if there was a named person, they were either a murderer or someone who was going to sexually assault somebody in that chapter. It got so tiring reading every single time. It was like, is there no one that helps anyone in this world? Is there anyone who sits there and says, oh, here, come in and you can be safe in my house? Zero chance. There's everything is a spider's lair in the whole society. And then it also doesn't make any sort of sense because when you call the banners, all the men go to war and then millions of them are slaughtered in these wars. Who's working any farm? Where is anything being produced in this land? You know what I mean?
Where are the supply lines, damn it?
Where are the supply lines for real? You know what I mean? And it gets to the point where, I mean, you can get away with that stuff when it's like 2 or 3 battles, you know what I mean? And then the story's over. But at some point you're looking at these like decades of like things that are going on. It's like, who's alive? Who's left in this world? That sort of stuff starts to bug me when the story is not keeping my attention. I don't care about any of that sort of stuff when something's happening. And I'm with Andrew on this one where it's the political stuff is where it's at. Because that was like one piece of information at the right place at the right time meant someone was going to die and pay for it. As soon as everybody left the city, it was like they never ran into each other again. Like, where the hell are all these people? You know what I mean? They'd all meet new people. And it was like, I don't care about any of these assholes either now. You know what I mean? They go out to
That's
the desert.
not true. I love Brienne of Tarth. I don't care what anyone says.
One shining jewel in everyone else because there was no one for Tyrion to trick anymore. You know what I mean? It was like it was like it was his surviving. He's like, I survived this thing. Oh God, yeah. George R. R. Martin, and he's going to die before he finishes any of that sort of stuff. He had no ideas. I love that he tried to fake to people. He's like, oh, I told him the ending of the TV show. No, you didn't. You didn't tell him anything. Because if there would have been any plan, would have been better than what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. See, yeah, and in Game of Thrones too, you talk about like that, you know, the supply line guys, like the you know, the dudes on the back end. I think the closest they touched on that was one of my favorite characters, which was Sir Davos, the pirate guy.
Yeah,
who had the boats.
Yeah.
I loved that guy, and it was like, why does he have to go to these kings and lords and say, hey, don't kill your children?
Right.
Why do I have to tell you not to kill children? Like,
they're all
what
sociopaths.
So that like I like characters like him because he's just like, he seemed like a normal level-headed person in a whole bucket of crazy, and he's just like
he's the Miles O'Brien of Game of Thrones.
Right. I'm not even supposed to be here today. But yeah. Andrew, you wanted to talk about My Adventures with Superman.
Yes, I've been enjoying it immensely. The latest episode was excellent. It was a heist episode instigated by Jimmy Olsen and assisted by a lot of fun, colorful characters that we've met before. Mm-hmm. Including personal favorites, Mature Mala and the Brain. And this version of them feels very kind of Hanna-Barbera Magilla Gorilla, not killer giant ape with genius intelligence and a machine gun, right? And I'm here for it. They leaned into the relationship part of those two, and that's fine. I'm into it. I don't get enough Doom Patrol as it is. I'll take what I can get, and I love every bit of it. So the show is terrific. It continues to be good. They've introduced some fun new characters without too many more spoilers, because I want you guys to watch it. Their take on Kara is very new. I've not seen this version of her before, and it's fantastic. Kind of reminds me of the Silver Surfer a little bit. So
I really enjoyed the episode where Perry was making Jimmy like take care of all the interns.
Yeah,
and there's the part where he comes up and he's like, Perry, the interns aren't listening to me. And just the laughter that comes from Perry White there, I was like, this is why I watch this show.
There's an appropriate amount of blushing that goes on throughout all these episodes as well, which is always fun. The interns, I don't know if you noticed, are a reference to Superman support characters.
No, I didn't notice that.
They're the Newsboy Legion, or at least a reskinning of them, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, that was really good. And I've also liked the kind of diving into Lois and her dad's past and all that stuff. It fits the show. It's just great. Like it's delightful. That's the best way I can describe it.
The writers understand that Superman has to always be the good guy, but they also understand that he isn't just the story isn't just him. It has to be the supporting cast too, because that's always been how you tell a Superman story. It's how he reacts and interacts with Lois and Perry and Jimmy and all the supporting cast members too, and they understand that's what keeps Clark human. And so when Lois and Jimmy aren't present in Superman stories, he starts to get a little inhuman and a little more New 52-y, where they lean into the alien part of the character, which I feel doesn't work as well with Superman.
Yeah, that actually just reminded me that I saw that there is going to be a documentary on the making of Kingdom Come, the comic. It was a fundraiser, a Kickstarter with that Alex Ross was involved with, and it's just kind of about the creation of that comic. And I think it's one of my favorites, just because Alex Ross artwork. He had me when it was Green Lantern and his like space castle, and he's just sitting in this giant chair. I was like, yeah, you got me. That was awesome. It's set to come out fall of this year. The Kickstarter campaign brought it to life, but
where can one watch it? I backed a Mike Mignola Kickstarter for a documentary drawing monsters or something, and I never got to watch it. Like there's no link. There's no. I got a T-shirt, and I was like, "Yay, fun!" But that was it. So I still haven't seen that one.
It doesn't say where, but my guess would be, probably HBO with some of the other DC stuff.
Because Tubi has a lot of great comic book documentaries. I watched one about 2000 AD, which is the comic that Judge Dredd came from. It was pretty good.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check that out. I didn't even think about Tubi having documentaries.
Yeah, they also have a Dave Stevens documentary that I watched. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So next, the newest season of The Boys has been out. And it's been exactly as brutal as the other ones, and I have loved it. And my wife is actually kind of starting to watch it with me because she made the connection that the showrunner is the showrunner from Supernatural that she loves, and she's like, "Oh,
she didn't make that connection before."
Nope.
I
and
didn't because I didn't watch
I had-
Supernatural.
I had told her, I was like, it's Robert Singer. He's playing. It's the same name of the character that he played in Supernatural. He was Bobby Singer in Supernatural, and he's Robert Singer in The Boys. I'm like, and then she's starting to see like just extras in the background, like, oh, hey, I know that guy, and so she's getting into it now. It's been very good. It's made a certain area of the political spectrum a little upset.
Were they not in
but
on the joke before?
I don't think they were, and they're like, wait a minute.
Wait, Homelander's a bad guy? What? Huh? Shock.
Yeah. But have you guys been watching this season?
No, not this one yet. I want to. I watched all the previous ones. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Nothing for you, Ryan, Chris? Nope.
I'm one season behind. The
okay.
show makes me so anxious to watch. The times I would watch it before bed, I couldn't sleep.
I get that. I have to watch it in
it.
chunks too. I have to watch it in chunks, and then I was like, okay, and then I don't think about it for a couple of weeks, and then I'll watch another chunk. But it is really good. Like, all the acting is great.
Those first two seasons, they did such a good job of like making it every single episode have. There's no fat on that show. There is. It is either a character is being developed or the story is being moved along. There is nothing, and everything has really high stakes to it, which is what I find so anxiety inducing.
One of the characters just over the seasons that I'm just like, that's my favorite character is Kamiko. I love Kamiko. She's awesome. I'm like, I could just watch the show if it was just about her.
She's one of the characters that's better portrayed in the show than they were in the comic, because she didn't speak at all. There was no way to communicate with her really in the comic.
Yeah, now she can text.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been good. We get Jack Quaid and Carl Urban. They're awesome. Yeah, and talk about stakes for the newest season. Chris, you're gonna like that when you get there. But yeah, it's good. Watch it. Chris, you wanted to talk about our good friend Jim Lee and his commission prices.
Dear friend Jimothy Lee, I like to call him. Yeah, he broke the internet. Yeah,
See, best friends.
So, for the people at home, seeing like the peak of our time at Dr. Volt's, there was never a better day than that one. And
it was pretty wild.
They all went downhill from there. But so Jim Lee broke the internet a couple days ago by releasing his commission prices. And so you're talking about someone who's foundational to modern comics, been working in the industry for 30 plus years, co-founder of Image, C-suite in DC right now, has always been fairly well-to-do, graduated from Harvard. And so you want to take a stab at like what his commission prices are?
What do you think,
More
Ryan?
wealth than I can imagine.
So to give,
I know the answer, so I recuse myself.
Right. So to give you something like way that you can some sort of signpost for it, right? So Humberto Ramos, who worked on Spider-Man for a real time, great artist. For him to do like a small sketchbook, 5x7 sketch of Spider-Man, I think at his table about 5-6 years ago, I think the last time I saw those were somewhere around $400 or $500. And so that and he was like, he wasn't on Spider-Man at the time, but he had done Spider-Man in the past, right? And so if you are, trying to get something together, Jim Lee, an 11x17, that's going to be the expensive one. Like, let's say you wanted a smaller one, you get a 9x12 waist up, right? Like not a full figure, or because those usually cost a little bit more, and a limited background. So he'll put like a square, like a palm tree or something like that. Range is going to be right around $9,000 to $15,000 is for that.
For like a sketch, right?
Yeah, this will be it'll be like a finish, it'll be like a he'll ink it, and
it'll still be a Jim Lee drawing.
And it's a Jim Lee drawing, right? And then the you really want something, like that's not enough for you. Really want to have something that brings the room together, right? Like you have you want a Psylocke, but she's stuck in quicksand or something. Like it's a whole, it's her whole body or something like that. And you need 11x17
comic cover
to fit the frame that you have in your room. That'll run you starting at the $25,000 to $30,000 range. And I think that's one character. I think it's $10 more for one more character, because that's usually what I charge.
$10 on there.
Yeah, that's usually what I charge at con. So
that'll be $25,000 and $10, please.
And $10, yeah. Yeah, if you want Rogue and Gambit, right? Like you get one or the other in there. But that broke the internet. There was a set of people who lost their minds in that's outrageous.
What does he make an hour doing his other jobs?
Right.
And how long will it take him to do an 11x17 composition?
Right.
What's the average cover price to do like full cover art for Marvel or DC?
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you're doing full cover art, yeah, for those rates are somewhere around like between $5,000 and $10,000, depending on depends on who's doing it. Right. So yeah, this that seems like the correct scale. You know what I mean? Like it does not surprise me at all that's what, and the type of people who would have that kind of money, they're not going to blink at, they're going to be like, oh, I can get on the list. You know what I mean?
I feel like those prices might have been set to discourage a high volume of commissions.
That's kind of the deal with commission prices, right? Like you do have to take that into consideration of how many can I physically do. That's a
discriminating price.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The thing is about that, and I feel a couple of ways about that. One of them is that I understand that like you're an artist, commissions, you can only do so many. You get to a limit no matter how fast. Well, I have an example of that one, but you get to a limit where you're only going to be able to output so much. But then if you raise your prices, that's the elasticity of demand, right? Like you put the demand down, but then you are kind of canceling out your poor fans, right? You're at that point, then you have become a deluxe product. And I don't think he should be doing things for $5. So, but the thing is, the sketches that Jim Lee did for us when he was at the shop, he did for free. So it's like I feel like he accommodates as many people as he can, and this was, like you said, this is the way to
his
give
price on remarks, like what he did for us at that signing. Right. It's like $500.
Yes,
and he just tossed those out seemingly randomly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the signature series through CGC, and you can get a certified remark and signature, and it's between $500 and $700. So I think him in particular, he does actually. I'll take a bullet for the guy. That thing was so cool when he came out. So like, I will defend him. You know what I mean? To a limit, but I will defend him on this to the teeth.
He does seem to care about the fans, and he stayed until everybody had their stuff signed, and like he earned a fan. He treated everyone well, and was really cool the whole time. And so, to his credit, yeah, I'll have to cavell a little bit there. Yeah.
Well, and I hear that stories about him like that from lots of people. That it doesn't seem like he just put on a show because he knew people were watching. I think that's just kind of who he is, which is nice to hear.
Yeah.
but yeah, that is yeah, it is rough to think about that. If you price anything as an artist on the internet, there's people that come out of the woodwork for some reason and go, well, I could do that. I could do that for half the price. And it's like, well, do it then.
Right.
Like, why are you
then
here?
do it. Yeah.
You know, like draw your own one. You know what I mean? Why did you take the time out of your day to gripe at someone? It's just a weird particular type of thing that makes a set of people angry. And I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I do think maybe like from people that aren't in that market, right? They're not into the original art market. That they just see that number and they're like, that's a Honda Civic. You know what I mean?
Hey, do I want this comic page or a gently used car?
Right. So I think maybe that could be a contributing factor to some of it. But again, like you said, people that are purchasers of art, they understand the scale, they understand the mitigating factors that go into it. Just other people don't, and they just see the number and they go, "Ugh,
that's a Kia Sedona, not a comic page."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Apparently he's been charging those prices for years too. It's like he's been doing that. This just came
new.
up. This isn't new. Someone posted them in anticipation for San Diego this year. What's this guy's name? Albert Moy. He's very famous for selling quality, like original comic book art. And so when he posted this up, it caught attention, and then people were freaking out about it. Nobody in the comics industry freaking out about it. It's all, like you said, outsiders.
Everyone's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Did he just republish them because he was worried about Daniel Warren Johnson feeling like he's the highest paid comic artist right now?
Oh, you know what though? Like he has ones where you can get a small headshot. It's a 4x7 inch and it's $1,000. You know what I mean? So if you absolutely have to have a Jim Lee, if that's like a bucket list item, you know what I mean? Like there's an attainable version of it. Oh, what I was going to say, the person who's figured this out is Adam Hughes.
Oh,
so
right.
if you see Adam Hughes at a convention, he does one type of sketch, and it's a profile. He does a profile, and then if the hair or head dress of whatever character takes him 3 minutes, and they're $250, but they take him 3 minutes, and he's like, zip, Harley Quinn, here you go, zip, Supergirl, get out of here. You know what I mean?
Catwoman next.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that guy's figured it out, but
yeah. Okay. That is all I had. Do you guys have any comics that you have read this week, or any comics that you would like to talk about?
Yes. Has anyone else read anything?
yes, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. I gotta dig it out.
You got to dig it out. So I have continued on my quest to read all of Blood Hunt from Marvel Comics. And so in what I've read is the new Jubilee one shot and the Magic one shot and Blood Hunt issue number 4. So the main storyline issue.
Okay.
So to catch you up, if you haven't don't remember, in the Marvel Universe right now, the vampires are attacking the world. So Blade has become the Lord of Vampires, and somehow he has made it so that everybody who has a Dark Force power has sort of exploded and blotted out the sun. And so vampires all around the world are trying to take over the world, and it is forcing strange bedfellows to fight him, which includes Dracula having to team up with the Avengers and Blade's daughter to try to stop Blade. In the latest issue of Blood Hunt number 4, it is revealed that there is a prophecy, and that Dracula reveals to Blade's daughter that only she is the one who can land the killing blow on her father. And in with this revelation, she starts crying and runs off into the city. She's a capable superhero until she's not, right? And Miles Morales, Spider-Man, who has been changed into a vampire, but his personality has been brought back to the front of his mind by Doctor Strange. So he is like double super wicked badass Spider-Man vampire guy now, like fangs and everything.
You
know
lost
what I mean?
me
Like,
at the first part, but you brought me back.
Kind of coming around, right? Yeah, Doctor Strange has been trying to save as many people as he can, including himself, because he's in astral form right now, as his body is like a snarling vampire that he keeps in a cage and is at the Sanctum Sanctorum right now. And they have
that Clea keeps in the cage for him.
Yes, Clea and he have are actually trying to get Dr. Doom's help. And of course, you know, if you ever bargain with Doom, there will be a price to be paid when the Doom Piper comes calling. But so that's what's going on.
Doom Piper, that's the name
Doom
of the
Piper.
episode right there.
The Jubilee, and my criticisms are going to be the same for the Jubilee and the Magic comic, in that they feel like side quests. The world is like drowning in vampires and they're kind of wandering around, not really doing much about it. There doesn't seem to be the sense of urgency in the vampire invasion that I feel like a lot of the superheroes should have. Although they did acknowledge that Jubilee was once a vampire, and she
got better.
She got better, and she mentioned it, and then she's working with a set of she's working. There's a girl who's been turned into a vampire, and she's trying to get her turned back. And there's this set of other superhero vampires, the leader of which is named Ghost Blade. I don't know if you've heard of this character, but Jubilee mentions Ghost Blade's name like 5-6 times so that you remember who the hell it is. I feel like I don't know.
Do you remember Ghost Blade? Ghost Blade, everyone.
Hello, Ghost Blade. Thank you very much, Ghost Blade, for letting me have some food from your fridge. You know, like,
what does Ghost Blade look like?
Yes, that's
yeah,
it is. There's Ghost Blade and Blood Tears and 4 or 5 other vampire superheroes. Like, it's their time to shine in this situation. And then Ileana is fighting vampires in Russia, and there's like a resurrected czar that she just kicks the crap out of everybody. Like, there is no challenge for magic and her sword. She just mows through. Every vampire stands up, is like, you have met your match, and then like the panel changes and she's defeated them, and she's like, yeah, whatever. And so it doesn't seem like like I said, feels like these were all written separately.
Does Vampire by Night show up for your obscure deep cut vampire superheroes?
I haven't seen Vampire by Night show up yet.
She's blonde hair, wears a red outfit. She's only appeared in a handful of comics.
She might be on the team, but I did not. I'm gonna look it up here, and while you're explaining your book, I'll tell you who the team is. The vampire team from that Jubilee book is.
Okay. So do you want me to start now then?
So anyway, I love Blood Hunt.
Okay.
If Marvel's listening, you know what I mean. Love it, love it, love it. Just keep doing this.
So this week I read Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime, written by Jason Aaron. It was okay. You can tell that Jason Aaron is a fan of Uncle Scrooge comics due to the harrowing amount of references he shoved into every page. However, it does introduce a multiverse into the DuckTales universe and turns Uncle Scrooge kind of into Rick from Rick and Morty, which
you haven't said anything that I'm angry about yet.
Okay. You might like it then. Yes, it's straight a little far from center for me, but it certainly, I've come to regard it as an Uncle Scrooge comic I've read. So, however, I did read something I enjoyed. DC Pride, a celebration of Rachel Pollack. she wrote Doom Patrol after Grant Morrison, and it follows some of her early characters like Coagula and Codpiece. And then it also reprints her story that she did with Mike Allred with Brother Power the Geek. And then it features a new story with Doom Patrol that introduces her characters to the Unstoppable Doom Patrol, like Coagula. So quite good. I felt it was a good celebration of Rachel Pollack and her work. And there are some interesting essays that talk about how she's was influential not only in the comic community but also within the metaphysics and tarot community, and was one of the advocates back in the 80s and early 90s on tarot and things like that, and bringing that back to the forefront and mainstream. So cool. Yeah, Rachel Pollack, interesting character, certainly worth looking into.
Chris, did you find that team?
I did. They're called the Forgiven. And so it is made up of Inka, Inka, Quick Shot. Quick Shot, he looks like he's just a guy with a shotgun, so good for him. Night Eyes, who is like continuously bleeding from her eyes. Like, these Marvel characters are really weird. Ghostblade, who I mentioned, and Visigoth, who looks like a cross between Thor and from God of War. What's the main character's name? Kratos. Yeah, it looks like a cross between Thor and Kratos.
With a little bit of Sabretooth in there too.
Yes. Ghostblade looks like that. There's that PlayStation 1 game, Luke, that's the vampire, where he has like the gator that he wears. What is the name of that game?
Yes. Oh man.
The one person I thought
I can picture it. But I can't.
Azazel, something like that. Anyway,
there's someone out there listening, screaming at us. No.
Yes.
It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yes, that's what it must have been.
Yes. Yeah, but she calls each of the characters by their names several times so that you can remember who they are, and whoever made them up for this book. I don't know if they've been in books before, but
none of them sound familiar. Were they from like the Midnight Suns era version of these characters? The Bleeding Eyes seems like that could be a Hellblazer thing, or not Hellblazer. The Son of Satan guy.
Hellstrom. Yeah. So the Jubilee seems to. It felt like when I was reading the story, like she knew who they were before. So I assumed they had something to do with when she was a vampire, but I don't know. But I am a huge fan of the splash page with all the characters and their team name in their font, you know what I mean, in their masthead, and then the introductions of all the characters. So I kind of dig this, but yeah. So that's the Forgiven, your new favorite. But it's kind of like the guy on the Venture Brothers, where he's like, I only fight Blackulas. It's like these guys
Jefferson
seem very
Twilight.
Yes, these guys seem very specific to this. It's like, we're vampires and we're superheroes. It's
now's our time.
Yes,
now's our time. So I have gone back and I've had them. I just haven't read them. I'm on my next chapter of Dragon Ball Super. And this is stuff that hasn't been animated and put into the show or any movies yet. It's really good. Toriyama always found a way to keep the story like what the next like big bad event was going to be, or the big bad guy was going to be. Like, you just think you're at the end of it, you're like, there's no way, there's going to be someone that's stronger than Goku because of the way the last story arc ended. But there always is one, and he just did such a good job over his career of doing that. And the guy who's in charge of it now, who's Akira Toritaru, he's been drawing Dragon Ball Super since Toriyama came up with the story, and Toritaru would draw it. But he's kind of taken over taken over the reins after Toriyama passed away. But they put these it's like the little things in the back where he has his original sketch of how he laid out the page or how he laid out the panel, and then next to it is the corrections or additions that Toriyama added to it. Like, hey, when he turns his head around, you don't need the 2 lines next to it because his head isn't turning around quickly. It's turning around slowly. Or just like going and updating some expressions, like some eyebrow placement to make it seem like more like classic Toriyama style, where he would just go in like really heavy eyebrows, like really the squinted eyes, kind of smaller face, bigger head. But it just gives it that feel of old Toriyama stuff. And it's just cool to kind of see that stuff in the back of a lot of these issues. And a lot of like the character introductions when they're brand new characters, that was Toriyama. Like he would draw their initial panel, because he kind of had the idea of what the character was, what he wanted to look like. But yeah, no, it's good. I'm on number 13. I think number 21 is out in English, so I've got to get caught up. But it's good. It's Dragon Ball. If you like Dragon Ball, you're gonna like it. But yeah, that's all I had. Ryan, did you get a chance to read anything this week or?
My life is out of balance, and I'm working on it. I've not taken the opportunity to read, and I want to more. Oh, thanks.
It's all right. Okay. Chris, go ahead and plug your Whatnot stream.
Yes, Whatnot. So Monday nights, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can join most of the me every time, most of the time Andrew, and also some of the time Wormy will show up. Natalie will show up to the show, and we will draw for 2.5 hours, and maybe it'll be something you want drawn, or maybe it's something that I'm working on. Had a good time starting out working on a Tigra this week, so the folks in YouTube land can take a look here. And so on this fancy schmancy USA Avengers cover turning out pretty fun. Thank you. Gonna start working on the colors there, and so yeah, you can get one for yourself. I've also giving away things, right? Like it was one person who won both giveaways in the giveaway yesterday, because they show up and they enter the drawing, and so they won an original art piece of Jughead that I did on a sketch card, and a set of stickers, and then I gave away another set of stickers, but it was the same set of stickers, so I drew them another original art piece on a card. So he got 2 of them. And so anybody who wants to show up for that, I usually do it at the beginning and towards the end of the stream. So if you show up, and you can get free stuff. Awesome. And then you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok to know when we're doing those things.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's all I have.
Quick
today.
Plug.
Oh, yes, go.
Quick plug. So Ogden Con is this weekend.
Oh, yes.
So there is a volume 2. They Ogden Con started before the pandemic, and then was quickly wiped off the map when the pandemic came around. And so this is the reorganization of that show, and our good friend Evan from the Wasatch Wonders is going to be there. So if you get a chance this weekend, I'm going to be feverishly. Is anyone looking this up while I'm vamping? Con.
It's only $1 to get in. I did see that, which is awesome.
There you go. So I think it's at the Comfort Suites Ogden Conference Center, which if you're in Utah, it's 2250 South, 1200 West in Ogden. And so if you go there and you go see the Wasatch Wonders, you go ahead and tell them that the Nerd Dome podcast sent you.
Yeah.
He'll be like,
okay.
Who?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's one of the ones that yells at the podcast when we get things wrong.
Hi, Evan.
But thanks everyone for listening. If you have any comments, questions, ideas for topics, go ahead and shoot them over to us on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere that we're
heckling, derisive comments, that sort of thing.
Completely.
All attention is good attention, I'm told.
Yes. But yeah, so thanks for listening, guys. And Ryan,
don't forget to subscribe.
You may now exit the dome.
Oh, fuck responsibility.
I could see the whole time.
Hey, Elijah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say here.
Bye, guys.